Conversation with Stephen A. And I said that I would be more judicious in the way that I critique the things he said, and I would only do it if it rose to the level of something I needed to say something about. It's interesting that he chose Jasmine Crockett. Now, she doesn't serve in any leadership position. She's in the minority party. I wonder why he didn't single out, for instance, the President of the United States. And is he serving his constituents, the people that voted for him, by, I don't know, attacking a comedian and maligning the comedian, or maligning the opposition, the Democratic Party, or rambling in front of generals and the Navy? How is his constituents served? Does he serve his constituents like Mike Johnson, who constantly calls recesses so he won't have to deal of the matters of Congress? Or Jim Jordan, who's been in Congress for 18 years and never has written one piece of legislation in 18 years. I wonder why it isn't those people that he singled out. We're never going to argue about the efficacy of Congress. I think we have an agreement there. I think that they are not effective. I think that they don't do the job. I think that they don't represent their constituents well. But Jasmine Crockett is a member of the minority party. She holds no power. Her party doesn't have any power. She's not at the top of the minority party. She's a very junior congressman. So why would it be her that you would single out? Her job to represent her constituents. When you're in the opposition party, the minority party, your job is to object and to be loud, to be a fly in the orbit, to gum up the works. She's doing what it is she has the power to do, what's in her capacity to do, what's in her bandwidth to do. This is what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to make it harder and make it louder. That's what she does. She represents her constituents by being a member of the opposition party and to, by definition, oppose. I don't care in any paradigm you look at. Leadership starts at the top and goes down. Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith never saw this wave coming. What started as a quick casual comment on his podcast, just a little jab at Representative Jasmine Crockett, turned into a full-blown media storm before he could even blink. He probably thought it would fade in a day, but within hours, social platforms felt like a battlefield. Roland Martin called him out right away. D.L. Hughley co-signed it, and the whole situation flipped fast. And before Stephen A. even sat down with his morning coffee, Jasmine Crockett stepped in swinging, but not with shade or insults. She came with pure precision. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because this moment became one of the hottest conversations in media right now. And trust, this goes way deeper than just another comment gone sideways. What started as Stephen A. critiquing a congresswoman turned into a much bigger conversation about credibility, authenticity, and how Black voices get picked apart when they speak with strength in public. The responses he got weren't just clapbacks. They were clean, sharp lessons in how to take apart someone's argument without ever losing your cool. So stay right here because we're breaking down what really went down when Stephen A. Smith came for Jasmine Crockett and why the reaction he's facing carries way more weight than people realize. Let's get straight into it. The comment that set everything off. Stephen A. has been sliding deeper and deeper into political talk lately, and this time he put his focus on Jasmine Crockett. He claims she spends too much time being combative with the president, instead of finding ways to work together and deliver for her district in Texas. He basically asked, "Isn't your job to get results, not just resist?" It sounded like a calm, reasonable question at first glance. On the surface, it came off like he was promoting practicality instead of constant tension. It almost sounded like he was speaking out of concern for whether a politician is truly serving their community.
Jasmine Crockett chooses to express herself. I'm like, is that gonna help your district in Texas? Aren't you there to find a way to get stuff done? As opposed to just being an impediment to what Trump wanted? How much work goes into that? I'm just gonna go off about Trump, cuss him out every chance I get, say the most derogatory, incendiary things imaginable, and that's my day's work. That ain't work. Work is saying that's the man in power. I know what his agenda is. I'm not exactly in a position to stop him since the Republicans have the Senate and the House, but maybe if I'm willing to work with this man, I might get something out of it for my constituency.
But here's the real issue. Context matters, and Stephen A. left out all of it. Jasmine Crockett is a junior congresswoman in the minority party. She's not in leadership, her party doesn't control the House or the Senate, she's not positioned to negotiate massive deals or push major policy on her own. Her job literally is to challenge, to speak up, to call things out, and to represent her community by making sure the majority hears them loud and clear. So when Stephen A. framed her pushback as unproductive, he wasn't just questioning her approach, he was misreading or straight up misrepresenting what her role even is. And that's when the backlash kicked off. D.L. Hughley and Roland Martin had something to say. The first to step up publicly was D.L. Hughley, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. He pointed out something major. D.L. asked why Stephen A. singled out Jasmine Crockett in the first place.
I had a conversation with Stephen A., and I said that I would be more judicious in the way that I critique the things he said, and I would only do it if it rose to the level of something I needed to say something about. It's interesting that he chose Jasmine Crockett. Now, she doesn't serve in any leadership position. She's in the minority party. I wonder why he didn't single out, for instance, the President of the United States. And is he serving his constituents, the people that voted for him, by, I don't know, attacking a comedian and maligning the comedian or maligning the opposition to the Democratic Party or rambling in front of generals in the Navy? How is his constituents served? Does he serve his conservatives like Mike Johnson, who constantly calls recesses so he won't have to deal of the matters of Congress? Or Jim Jordan, who's been in Congress for 18 years and never has written one piece of legislation in 18 years. I wonder why it isn't those people that he singled up. We're never going to argue about the efficacy of Congress. I think we have an agreement there. I think that they are not effective. I think that they don't do the job. I think that they don't represent their constituents well. But Jasmine Crockett is a member of the minority party. She holds no power. Her party doesn't have any power. She's not at the top of the minority party. She's a very junior congressman. So why would it be her that you would single out? Her job to represent a constituent, which when you're in the opposition party, the minority party, your job is to object and to be loud, to be a fly in the ointment, to gum up the works. She's doing what it is she has the power to do, what's in her capacity to do, what's in her nourishment, what to do. This is what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to make it harder and make it louder. That's what she does. She represents her constituents by being a member of the opposition party and to, by definition, oppose. I don't care in any paradigm you look at. Leadership starts at the top and goes down. Stephen A. Smith would have you believe it starts at the bottom. She's a junior congresswoman with zero leadership power, and she's in the minority party, so why her?
If Stephen A. was truly worried about officials failing their communities, why didn't he call out the president for spending time going after comedians instead? Why didn't he call out Mike Johnson for constantly ducking real work by calling recess after recess? Why didn't he mention Jim Jordan, who's been in Congress almost 2 decades without writing a single piece of legislation in 18 years? DL made it clear, leadership starts at the top, not with the junior congresswoman just doing what her role actually asks for. If Stephen A. wants to critique politicians for slacking, then go after the people with real authority, not someone fighting from the minority side of the room. Then, Roland Martin stepped in and added more heat. He pointed out how Stephen A. keeps trying to present himself as this independent thinker, an unbiased voice in the media, but the pattern keeps showing something different. Roland said Stephen A. consistently aims his criticism at Democrats while letting Republicans slide. He gives space to conservative talking points while brushing off progressive ones. That's not independence, that's selective critique, and people are catching on fast. Jasmine Crockett's response, a straight-up masterclass. And here's where the whole thing gets even more interesting. Because Jasmine didn't react the way some might expect. She didn't rant, she didn't throw insults, and she didn't give anyone ammo to twist her tone or her intention. Instead, she moved smarter. She reposted commentary from Willie D. and others who broke down exactly what Stephen A. missed. She let other respected voices handle the heavy lifting while she added just one sharp question. At what point will Black men lead the charge to turn him off? That's strategy. That's control. That's someone who understands how media works and how to flip a moment without ever looking like the aggressor. She took Stephen A.'s critique and spun it into a bigger conversation. How Black women in politics keep getting tone policed. How they get judged not for their policies or results, but for how they speak, how they stand, how they move, how they're told to stay polite and composed even when they're being dismissed or disrespected. By pushing it into that context, she didn't just defend herself, she shifted the spotlight onto a much bigger issue. And the move worked, because suddenly the conversation wasn't just Stephen A. said this, it became a deeper look at how Black women are treated in political spaces, especially when they speak with strength. Now, let's keep it real. Stephen A. wasn't wrong in the core idea. The thought that even opposition politicians should look for ways to work with those in power for the good of their communities, that's a real political approach. Being practical matters, getting results matters, and sometimes compromise is part of the job. But the issue was how he applied that idea. Stephen A. took a solid premise and aimed it at the wrong person in the wrong situation. Jasmine Crockett is doing her job. She represents her community by speaking up, pushing back on policies her people don't support, and making sure their voices don't get drowned out, especially when her side doesn't hold the power. If Stephen A. wanted to make a point about pragmatism, he should have chosen someone who actually has the authority to negotiate our block major legislation, someone whose choices affect deals and outcomes, someone in leadership, not a junior member working from the minority. And that choice matters a lot, because when someone repeatedly critiques people with the least power while ignoring the ones at the top, it doesn't look like real political analysis anymore. It starts feeling like something else entirely. So the question becomes, is Stephen A. positioning himself for something? Here's the question everybody's whispering right now. Is Stephen A. Smith grifting? There's a real difference between someone evolving politically and someone positioning themselves for more power or more profit. And a lot of people believe Stephen A. is leaning into the second option. Over the last few years, he's stepped deeper into political talk. He's tried to stand right in the middle, acting like the independent voice who speaks for common sense. He publicly critiques Democrats with ease while being noticeably softer on Republicans. He gives space to conservative guests and talking points, all while claiming neutrality. And let's be real, Stephen A. is sharp. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that drama brings clicks. He knows that going against the crowd brings attention. He knows that branding himself as the reasonable independent gets him an audience from both sides of the aisle. But the issue is this: his version of independence is starting to look like performative centrism, not real balance. He takes safe swings at one side while staying friendly with the side currently controlling the conversation. That's not true independence. That's calculated positioning, and people are starting to see through the act. D.L. Hughley said it out loud, Roland Martin said it out loud, and Jasmine Crockett said it out loud, and even some conservative voices have started asking whether Stephen A. truly believes what he says, or if he's just jumping on whichever wave gives him the biggest spotlight. The risk for Stephen A. is real. He may end up boxing himself into a corner. He's pushing away parts of the left with nonstop criticism, and eventually, the right will stop entertaining him once they figure out he's not truly aligned with them either.
He's simply useful right now. That's the exact trap people call the grift. And plenty of folks believe Stephen A. is walking straight into it. But there's a much bigger story under all this: how Black voices navigate credibility and pressure in today's media landscape. And that's the part that hits deeper than any single clip or hot take. Stephen A. is in a unique lane. He's one of the most recognized Black figures in sports media, with a huge platform and serious influence. Now he's trying to shift that influence into political space. But the rules over there are completely different. In sports talk, you can be loud, dramatic, emotional, even outrageous. That's part of the entertainment. Fans will debate you, argue with you, laugh with you. It's fun. But in political media, none of that works the same way. In politics, credibility matters. Consistency matters. People want to know what you truly stand for, not just what gets the most engagement on a Tuesday morning. Right now, Stephen A. is under that microscope. People are asking, what do you actually believe? They're asking whether he's genuinely shifting politically or simply saying whatever opens the most doors and keeps him trending. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett is dealing with a whole different layer of reality as a Black woman in politics. She's constantly being tone policed. Folks don't critique her policy or her results first. They critique how she talks, how she reacts, how she carries herself. She's expected to stay calm and respectful even when someone is talking down to her or trying to dismiss her. That double standard is exactly what makes this moment so powerful. Stephen A. can talk about her tone without facing the same judgment she gets daily. And when she pushes back, she has to move with strategy, because one wrong move can be twisted to reinforce stereotypes about Black women in leadership roles. That's the real core of the story. Not just two public figures going back and forth, but what their exchange reveals about how Black voices get analyzed, questioned, and graded differently, depending on the platform and the politics involved. So why does any of this matter? Why should people care that Stephen A. Smith critiqued a congresswoman and caught backlash for it? Because this situation is about credibility, authenticity, and whether media personalities are truly trying to inform people or simply chasing engagement for their brand. Stephen A. has built a whole career on being bold, being outspoken, and standing firm in his opinions. But now people want to know whether those opinions are real or just strategically placed. And in sports, that approach works. People respect it. They tune in for it. They expect it. But in politics, that same energy only lands if people believe it's coming from a real place. The second folks think you're just performing, your credibility slips. And once that credibility cracks, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Right now, Stephen A. is standing on that edge. Not because he questioned Jasmine Crockett, but because the pattern in his commentary makes it look like he's chasing position instead of staying consistent. And the pushback he's getting from D.L. Hughley, from Roland Martin, from Jasmine Crockett, and from audiences who are watching closely, that's a warning shot. It's people saying, we see what you're doing and it's not adding up. If Stephen A. really wants to be taken seriously in political commentary, he has to tighten it up. He has to be consistent. He has to judge everyone by the same standard, not just the easy targets. He has to show he's in this to actually break things down, not just stir up attention for clicks and headlines. Because if he doesn't, he risks ending up like plenty of media figures who tried to play both sides and wound up losing both audiences at the same time.
That's the trap waiting for him if he doesn't shift. Final word, credibility is everything. Let's be honest, Stephen A. had a point hidden in his critique of Jasmine Crockett. Pragmatism matters, working across the aisle matters, delivering for your community matters. But he aimed that idea at the wrong person. He pushed a valid concept onto someone who was literally doing the job she's expected to do. And by doing that, he exposed something about his own approach to political commentary that folks are now questioning. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett's response was flawless. She stayed calm, stayed sharp, stayed strategic. She didn't get defensive or disrespectful. She reframed the whole moment and let other respected voices break it down while she highlighted something bigger about how Black women are treated in political spaces. In the backlash Stephen A. is catching from D.L. Hughley, Roland Martin, and others, That's not just about one comment, it's about a pattern people are tired of. It's about folks noticing that his so-called independence keeps looking like selective criticism designed more to build a brand than to inform a real audience. The bigger story here is credibility, authenticity, and how Black voices in media and politics have to navigate systems that judge them differently based on their platform and their politics. And right now, Stephen A. is being judged not just for what he said, but for what his commentary reveals about what he prioritizes. If you made it all the way through this breakdown, it means you want more than surface-level headlines. You want the real story behind the moment, and that's exactly what we bring here every single week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification so you don't miss the next deep dive. Drop a comment. What's your take? Was Stephen A. out of line? Was Jasmine Crockett's response perfect? Do you think credibility should matter more than engagement? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.